everyone. I am William Del Pilar, your unapologetic conservative Latino. And tonight's a special one. It's our 100th episode of Fired Up Conservative Talk. It originally started out as just Fired Up. Then it just sounded so good. It was flowed so smooth. Fired Up Conservative Talk. So this show started sporadically, but once we locked in on the weekly rhythm, it's become Grumblings Media's second longest running show. And we're just getting warmed up. I expect another 100 episodes and beyond. And to top it off, as a marketer, we're going to be trying new and different things and pushing the show, advertising the show, getting different types of guests on the show. I've been doing that slowly, but I'm really going to be pushing that much harder now. And tonight, we're bringing back the original trio, myself, of course, and my co-host, the G-Man, better known as G. Manghani by his marriage certificate, and the always insightful and beautiful Miss Annette Ross, a prolific writer who I think she has another book coming out if it's not already out. So we're going to be mixing it up tonight. There's not going to be 2 or 3 big stories that I always end up trying to rush through at the end to get a few other smaller takes. Today, we're going to be hopping around. We're going to be hitting some of the headlines that matter, that you should be aware of as conservatives. And we're going to start with what's always been close to my heart: voter fraud. It's not just theory. 250 ballots were mailed in an Amazon package out in Maine. Then we're going to talk Nick Sorter. He is a conservative journalist, independent. He was arrested in Portland by cops. He was seeking protection from Antifa. And Antifa, they were the actual agitators. They were the ones walking free. So much for this is when the libertarian in me comes out. So we are the Portland police. Then the FBI cut ties with the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, finally calling out their bigotry. And to make it worse, we just talked about them a couple weeks ago, over 2 to 3 weeks ago, over a couple episodes, about how these type of nonprofits, they massage their statistics to make it look like conservatives are the more violent group by flat out leaving out progressive violence, including Antifa. Then we're going to head on over to Larry Ellison's global digital ID push and what it means for you. Maybe nothing today, but Big Brother's looking over the UK shoulder at us for tomorrow. And then Benjamin Netanyahu drops Charlie Kirk's letter, and it's bad news for Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson. Then we're going to revisit the military's physical readiness standards, a longtime favorite of mine. And I got a great story. That's why I chose this one. And then we're going to close with the classic hypocrisy of Joy Reid and this week's big story, the government shutdown. I don't know if we can do it. So join in with your questions and comments. It's our 100th episode, and we're just getting started. But before we begin, do not forget to bookmark grumblingsmedia.com and follow us on YouTube, Rumble, Apple, Spotify, and Pandora under the handle Grumblings Media. And if you're listening right now, please hit that thumbs up. And with that, let us bring on our guest. We're going to start off with the G-Man, and then I'm going to bring in Señorita Annette. I'm running producer duties tonight as well. Hello, everybody. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
So, Miss Annette, is your second book out yet?
Not yet. I'll let you know. It's coming.
So what is it? Writer's block? Are you like one of those guys? We gave you $1 million front end piece of the contract, and we ain't got no book
it's
yet.
Just editing, cleaning it up, telling the right stories.
And what about you, G-Man? Looking quite like you just got finished doing some housework there with that shirt. What's wrong with that?
No, I do have a right about there a thumbs up can, which is a soda from India.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So I got a display. Oh, right there. There's
that is good.
I got to catch up on my Indian movies. It's been a little while. With that said, I've been watching Mom. Just real quick sidetrack. If you guys want a comedy that is laugh out loud, it is Mom. And to make it even better, it mixes real life situations with some good topics. It's a little bit liberal in certain veins, but a great show right now.
Wait, where do you watch it? Netflix?
That's what I was about to say. It's on everyone's anti-streaming service right now, Netflix.
I missed the memo on that one.
I guess Netflix got caught got caught with another cartoon or another kiddie show with a transgender, and Netflix doesn't care. They're not like Disney, they have their whole catalog to protect. They have a complete image to protect. Netflix, they're known as a streaming service that started out as DVDs. They don't have that history, so they don't care at the end of the day. And a study came out, it's like 100% of all their employees gay that have given money to political party, all Democrats, not one was conservative. And their CEOs, he's as leftist, as hardcore leftist as they come, which is kind of odd. All these big corporate CEOs worth millions, some billions, and they're pushing socialist, beliefs. Maybe they view themselves on top, but what they don't realize is entertainment is always subjugated to the foot of whoever is in charge.
Should I be shocked by any of this?
Real quick, correct, Diddy. I have not looked at it. I just saw the headline. So real quick, your take, G. Then we're going to Miss Annette. Your take on Diddy. I think he got 6 years. Am I correct? 6 years or 4 years in prison?
Oh, I didn't catch the number of years, but look, guilty. You got to serve the time. And why do we make exceptions for celebrities? I think if they make a song and we like it, okay, well, let's just let them off the hook or deny or pretend that they were never guilty. And you can think of a big mega superstar from the 80s. I won't say his name because that will really get a lot of people mad. But, he the light on his skin became lighter and lighter throughout the years. But we all know that he was most likely guilty, but we wanted to cut him some slack because, he makes such good music. So we got to have different rules for those people.
What about you, Miss Annette? Your thoughts?
I mean, I thought it was a problematic case. I mean, maybe you guys disagree, being that I'm a woman. I just I thought the text messages by the lady who was saying that, their relationship, I thought did not look good for her. And I think that's why he got the least amount of time that he could possibly get. Honestly, she looks complicit.
Well, I think the problem is they went for a RICO, and that's kind of what we've seen now over the last few years. It's tough to get a RICO case done.
Very.
And I just don't think it was a good look in terms of the state. I think it was New York District Attorney, that state. This was a state federal one, and sometimes I think some of these political appointees are just not as good at the cases as they like to think they are. And I do know that the one of the guys there was looking at his future political career. And I think it was 4 years. I can't remember 4 or 6 years, but I thought it was fair considering the charges they got him on. And the one thing I'll push back on you, Annette, which is odd, I'm the man and you're the woman, is a lot of these women are stuck, between a sugar daddy and hating that life, and then the physical violence, because we saw what Diddy did in that video, and that was no joke. He was kicking and beating that woman, and they feel trapped.
I'm sorry, William. I'm sorry. Why couldn't she get up and walk away?
That's what I'm saying. This is so odd. I'm defending the woman in this case. It's because domestic abuse victims are too scared to leave, don't know how to leave, don't have the courage to leave. They're just scared and they feel threatened. How many times have they left and that nut job keeps pursuing them? I agree with you. At the end of the day, that is the true answer, but it's not black and white.
Is that all he was convicted for?
Those were minor charges compared to the RICO charge.
Wait, I mean, I understand that, William, but that would be the antithesis of what you say sometimes, because you can be very black and white. I mean, you could say nothing is black and white, right? I'm just saying.
Nothing is black and white.
They weren't married, though. They weren't married. They didn't have children. What was holding her with him?
Well, that's the question that I think you should probably take time out on a potential political career, if you ever choose one, to talk to domestic abuse victims and gain insight. Because it's something I will never, ever understand, but I can empathize with some of them because I've run across some of these people throughout my lifetime. When I was brought up with a lot of poorness. I wasn't, but with the family, and there's a lot of abuse. Probably in the upper rich cycles too, but especially in the poor communities, it tends to be much higher perception-wise, at least in my eyes, what I've seen. But that said, I just wanted to get your guys' take. Let's get to it. We've already chatted away here about 10 minutes. So the first topic is the main ballots illegally shipped incident. So recent incidents expose vulnerabilities in U.S. election integrity, including an unauthorized shipment of 250 ballots to a Maine resident. And that's a reminder that U.S. ranking in terms of our election integrity, we are ranking last in global election security with Nevada at the bottom due to lax mail-in and harvesting laws. And to add to it, we just saw that Des Moines superintendent, who is an illegal immigrant, was found illegally registered to vote in Maryland. So these are just the latest examples with a reminder of how far our election integrity has fallen. Let's start with you. What are your thoughts on this?
No, so when you have the mail-in ballots, and this is what's so suspicious about 2020, you can never prove that there was fraud. But let's say in Pennsylvania, you get 3 million voters, right? And 1 million ballots were requested. So then well, if you get 1.2 million ballots back in the mail, that there's some fraud going on. There's something wrong, right? So that puts an upper cap on the number of votes that can be mailed in. In 2020, all 3 million ballots were mailed out. Everyone got a ballot, and the whole nation's swimming in ballots. So anybody could fill out any number of ballots that they wanted and just put it in the mail. There's no, basically parameters around, okay, well, you need to show up, you need to show ID or whatnot. So I think there's always going to be fraud until we can say you need to show up in person and vote. And even then, there'll still be fraud, fake IDs and all that. But it just wouldn't be as easy to do, right? So I've been voting absentee ballot forever now. I think it's 15 years now. If, God forbid, one day I'm gone, that ballot will still be mailed to me. And my mail comes to the post office. And if someone somehow gets that, they could cast a vote on my behalf. There's no checking like, hey, are you still alive? You still there? I mean, if you want an absentee ballot, maybe you say, okay, send a ping and go, just want to make sure you're still alive, because if you're not, someone else is voting for you. So this just proves that one person, 250 ballots. I mean, it's very easy to do. And, I like the Iraqi system. Put the finger in the pink ink or purple ink, and you voted that day, that one day.
Yeah, no, I think the one-day balloting, the one-day voting is the best way. Annette, so the picture we're looking at is 250 ballots. The backdrop picture is the box that came in, and that is the actual instructions. Detectives were called upon the scene, showing the seriousness of this. The problem here is this is Maine. Maine has dirty voter rolls, and they're refusing to submit them to the DOJ for inspection. So you cannot trust the Secretary of State, which is investigating the Secretary of State's department. And how did these mailers get out? What are your thoughts on this? And what are your thoughts on how low we ranked in terms of globally? We scored 59.9 out of 100. And that's because we have universal mail-in balloting, ballot harvesting, and voter ID, and minimal voter ID requirements. And all that does is open up the potential for voter fraud, because there is no chain of custody. And as an example, in California, we have the lowest death rate toll in the nation when it comes to our voter ballots. Yet we have probably one of the largest voter rolls in the country. So, and my point being is, there's a reason that we have the lowest death with the voter rolls, because by law, every active or voter that's registered gets a mail-in ballot by law. That happened in 2020. So your overall thoughts?
Well, let me answer the second part of your question first. Let me ask you, when you say we came in 59th?
No. We scored a 59.9 out of 100. Countries like Kenya, Mexico, Chile, Ghana, Italy, and Rwanda ranked higher.
Okay. So, William, did you say Mexico?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I mean, this is where this is why I have to say, are you guys making fun of me? I'm going to just say one thing. I don't buy that at all. Where'd you get that number from?
That came from an agency. Oh gosh, I did not put that in my notes. Where's it at?
No, it's
Where's
okay.
it
I'm
at?
just saying that because I don't necessarily believe it when I think of other countries, like the countries that you're mentioning, that our integrity is that much worse. You know what I mean?
Oh God, yes.
Oh, now
Hold on. Do you know how chain of custody works? Do you understand how chain of custody works? In a police environment, which is what ballots used to be, following that same chain of custody, meaning you and when you do a urinalysis at work, in the military, chain of custody has to be followed. Means every stop has to be documented and visually inspected by the person who gets a handoff, and it goes straight from point
ballots,
A to point B. And the
Okay.
ballots used to be the same way,
Mhm.
and that changed. Now you get a mail-in ballot. You know, grandma may be conservative. Oh, yeah, I want to vote for Senor Trump. But the granddaughter may sit there and not be so conservative. Take grandma's ballot. You know, I'll take this in and drop it off for you, fill it out for her and drop it off. That's just one easy example. But Democrats have people knocking on doors. I will take your ballot. Oh, it's not filled in. Don't worry. If you're voting Democrat, I'll fill it, or I'll fill it in for you. I mean, there is no more chain of custody. In Nevada, which is ranked dead last,
Okay.
a bunch of races the Democrats squeaked out after many, many weeks at less than 1% victory. We've seen in California over and over. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. We've seen in California over and over. 90%, I may be wrong, but most of the time the Republicans leading come election night. And then 3-4 weeks later, by just enough votes, the Democrat squeaks it out. Now, I could be wrong. They could be solid, could be righteous, but because there is no chain of custody, they can't sit there and stay otherwise. Now, they try to claim there is, but it's easily blown through. You could drive a pickup through the hose of their so-called chain of custody. You know, so mail-in ballots is and then as the guy from Finland on the Patrick Bet David podcast showed, in 15 minutes, he hacked into one of these secure that aren't connected to the internet ballot machines. So yes, I can easily see. In fact, Jimmy Carter had a blue collar a panel, a blue ribbon panel, and a lot of the stuff they said there we're no longer applying here. You know, in fact, the standards Jimmy Carter would use as he went around the world to make sure they have fair elections, he threw out the window in 2020 when he said, this is the most fairest election I've ever seen. But by then he was,
Well, as G said, though, you can't you can't know. But
that's the whole point. Don't you want a secure election? Don't you want a fair election?
Of course I do.
Don't you want an election where they go Annette Ross? Yes, you are Annette Ross versus do you need this happened to me. I went there to show my ID. Oh, you don't need to show me your ID. That's when it hit me front and center. I mean, I had read about it, studied it for years and years, but sometimes it's like a slap in the face when you actually see it. You know, I go, well, how do you know it's me? Yeah. So yes, I believe that because, and it's getting worse. Kamala Harris, all the states, 7 states she won, that were no ID. Now people say, oh no, but you have to have ID. Some of those states are, you got your ID? No, I don't. Oh, well, that's okay. Just fill this out and sign your name, but you can still vote in the meantime. So the ballot gets in. And as we learned in Michigan, I believe it was Michigan, with the Chinese national who got busted illegally voted when they asked about, well, what about his ballot? Oh, we can't pull it out. It's in the system. As Jamie Miller, former guest star on this show, who was part of the Florida,
right?
Yes, who was part of the Florida recount, the Republicans quickly realized they had to stop the counting because once the sham ballots were being thrown in, they couldn't be pulled out, and that's what the Democrats wanted. You know, because
and that is true. You can't pull it out because what if the guy said, "Well, I voted for Trump." Now you go look for a Trump ballot and pull that out, -1, right?
That's
but maybe
right.
he voted for Kamala, so now in effect he would get 2 votes, right? The one he illegally casted, and then the one that he had pulled out because he's lied and said I voted for Trump. So yeah, you can't pull it out. And if someone had filled out these 250 ballots in Maine, which ballots do you pull out? Is it for the
exactly?
Democrat,
so let's move on. Let's keep moving on here because we're getting bogged down on one topic here. So and to further my point, and then you can respond to this. Hey, Mr. Ian Andre Roberts. originally from Guyana, now living and working in Des Moines with the help of progressives who did not turn in the information that they needed to, which would have blocked them from getting the job. And remember, real quick, they say, oh, these illegals, they're doing jobs Americans don't want. Do you know any American that would turn down a $300,000 a year job that's a working class
job.
American? Yeah, so don't give me that. Anyway, he could vote in Maryland, illegal. He was supposed to be deported out. So voter fraud is running more and more rampant. They've got CDLs, commercial driver's license, being given out in California, and I forget whether state, maybe Pennsylvania, I can't remember, that has no name license. But that's the trigger event to get a mail-in ballot sent as well. Yeah. So yes,
but first of all, can I blame the school board for that guy being a superintendent? I mean,
it doesn't matter who you blame. He's in the system and can vote.
No, but also, okay, but William, just to give you, I mean, I know it's anecdotal, but some of these things are anecdotal as well. I mean, do you know what it took for us to get my daughter a California driver's license when she lost hers? It was a crazy rigmarole.
But you're not brown and illegal. You're an actual citizen. No, I'm serious. You go there as an illegal, if they bend over back, it's like taxes. You're an illegal, don't worry about that tax. And then Ross, you got an appointment with the IRS auditor. So that's comparing apples to oranges.
But how do you know? How do you know that's true? How do you know that's true?
Well, the fact that California's been busted giving out licenses to illegals. Oops, I'm sorry, just a mistake. That's, or the CDLs or Mr. Guyana there, and as G said, you get all these millions of ballots sent out to everybody, as we've seen reports of 24 ballots sent to one home. It turns out there's 50 illegals putting their addresses there. It doesn't take rocket science. And here's the thing that bugs me about progressives. Well, where's the studying the data? Well, there's actually not been a big time study to show this. It's all a study here, study there, but there's enough studies that have proven voter fraud is happening. And voter fraud is not new. It's happened since the founding of this country. Yes. Look at Chicago. Look at JFK. Look, in fact, Nixon, so this has been rampant for years.
I'm just trying to get you fired up, William,
there you go. Anyway, real quick, your thoughts on the illegal being able to vote. Annette.
Me. What do you mean? How could I have any positive thoughts about that whatsoever?
Good enough, Mr. Manghani.
No, I one more thought on the illegal voting. I mean, just that's terrible that someone like that. I mean, people on the left, like Kelly Osbourne, will say, "Oh, well, no one's going to take the job. No American's going to take the job picking vegetables." Right? That's the argument. Like that's too beneath Americans, so we need to let illegal immigrants come in and do that dirty work for us, and that's the left's word, or that's the left's line, and I hate it because you look at this and it's now a job that many Americans would love to take, and this guy's taken it. And I don't know all the circumstances or whatnot, but if you're a superintendent, I think you should be here legally. You should be here legally, able to work and have a Social Security number and all that. But here's the other thing. So going back to the voting, I saw this clip on CNN, and it was Scott Jennings with some other woman, I forget who she was, as a guest person on the show. And he basically said, like, there is voter fraud in America. And she goes, no, there isn't. There's no voter fraud. And he goes, yeah, look at the news report. There was one right there. And she goes, one. That's it. That's just what. And it's like, wait, you just said zero. This woman, a Democrat, just said zero, and now concedes there was one. And if you can concede there's one, there's no.
It's like when there's a rat.
Well, here's the bottom line with that. Here's the bottom line with that is that's up to. So that's tried to have. I've had that from family members and political discussion. I've said stop. I'm not letting you move the goalposts. Stay focused on this, and that pisses them off even more. But then it's not that I've defeated them. I've corralled them, and I won't let them. And you racist. That's where it gets down to. All right, let's keep moving. But before we do that, so to the audience, is this like Maine's discovery of 250 illegal absentee ballots, or how Nevada and California clinch close races weeks after Election Day, thanks to just enough mail-ins? Those aren't isolated. they're symptoms of a broken system. Add to that the U.S. scoring just 59.9 out of 100 in global election integrity rankings, and the picture becomes clear. We have lax laws that are enabling fraud, non citizen voting, and ballot mishandling. The solution isn't complicated, but it is urgent. Mandatory voter ID, tighter restrictions on mail in ballots, federal oversights to restore trust. Without it, as we've seen from both sides, because remember, progressives were like, where did those 12 million votes go that Biden had in 2020? They thought this election was rigged. So confidence is collapsing and has collapsed in the eyes of many. And if that continues, eventually so will the republic. All right, guys, let's get into it. We got to speed this up a little bit more. So conservative journalist Nick Shorter was arrested in Portland while reporting on anti-ICE protests. So conservative journalist, he's an independent journalist. He was assaulted by Antifa protesters while covering anti-ICE demonstrations. He went to the police for protection. And you know what? The police sat there and arrested him. You know, so let me play this video here for everybody here. This is Nick Shorter in action.
Get out of here, white guy. I'm walking down the street. You ain't going nowhere. Get out of here. I'll fuck your ass up. I will fuck your ass up. Get out of here. Get out of here now. You're gonna get fucking paid.
He's trying to escape.
Who's that light? I'll fuck it up. I will fuck you up. I will fuck you up. Yeah, get back to your corner. Punk.
And that's him getting arrested.
Whoa.
Wow.
So, with that though, thank God we have our own homegrown, California-grown Harmeet Dillon. She sat there and said, no, Senor Portland dumbass, and sent this letter that their immediate attention to this matter is required, and that is viewpoint discrimination. And this is a civil rights issue. And she's demanding answers, and she's not messing around. She talks about, you guys arrested Nick Shorter, but not the others. You failed to identify the others. The city of Portland has reportedly attempted to use its policing powers through a zoning enforcement action to limit ICE's effectiveness. And then there is a second page. And I hope you guys can see that. It's they want the unredacted material. They want recordings. They want the incident reports. So what happened is Obama did this by abusing his power to take control of federal precincts through federal regulatory or authoritarian type powers, meaning they had to do certain things. And it was an abuse. The difference here is, as we see with the video, he went to the police for protection, and he's the one who got arrested. Now, there's also, I don't have it, but a female reporter had a massive black eye by Antifa. They did nothing to protect her. So I think this is the beginning of the end for the police department in Portland in terms of how they run. Your thoughts, G and Annette?
Yeah, I mean, the bias is clearly terrible over there. I did see the woman, and she was on Jesse Waters' show. I believe that was the same person. And yeah, I mean, it was more than a black eye. I mean, she looked pretty tore up, but she was still able to do a news show. I believe it was that night. And I mean, kudos to her. But the police need to protect the victims.
Yes.
And they're victimizing the victims because of a different political belief. I mean, we don't know that for sure, but I mean, that's what would make sense. And especially they had video evidence that this guy was actually being assaulted by the Antifa guys. I ran into some Antifa guys back in 2017 in downtown San Diego, and they did not look friendly. I mean, I didn't stick around because, look, there's no reason to get beat up for nothing.
Yeah.
I was just in the area, and I don't want to get caught up in what they were going to do. But They didn't do anything, but they were wearing the masks. I'm sure these are the same people telling ICE not to wear masks, but they're wearing masks and hoodies and
Yep.
trying to remain anonymous. So terrible by the Portland Police Department. Terrible.
Oh yeah. I'll be honest, G, in that situation, my over decade of martial arts taught me one thing: run. Annette, your thoughts?
I mean, isn't Trump sending in the National Guard there?
Yes, they had just not arrived yet.
I mean, no, it's so upside down and outrageous that when I see footage like that and hear those kinds of stories, what do you even do? What can be done? Why is that allowed to? Why are those kinds of bullies allowed to get away with it? It's just to me, it's almost unbelievable to see that kind. And then they're laughing. They're like making fun of and it's just I don't know. I don't know.
I get it. All right. Let's move on. My final comments is the arrest of Nick Schroeder. What it does is it underscores the growing risk that conservative journalists face in liberal strongholds like Portland. They put their lives at risk, and where Antifa assaults go unchecked and reporters defending American values are the ones detained, there's something wrong with this country. Yeah. It's a clear sign of bias. Portland police favoring leftist agitators, aka Antifa, a domestic terrorist group where liberals are going, it's just an idea. Well, we saw that idea come to life. The DOJ has authority to launch civil rights investigations, and in this case, they must and are, because restoring peace, people, means restoring law and order to cities like Portland. No exceptions. I came from a country with two dictators who they would be looking at this and go, "Essay, I like what I'm looking at." So let's move on here. FBI Director Kash Patel severs ties with ADL over extremism label on TPUSA. Patel ended the Bureau's partnership with the Anti-Defamation League, which I call Anti-Defamation League Against Conservatives, after it labeled conservative group Turning Point USA as extremists. G, your thoughts here on this?
The ADL is clearly left-wing, and so, yeah, I think Kash Patel can absolutely do what he wants. ADL is not all evil, right? I mean, they have a good part of them that protects Jewish people in
Holocaust,
America, which is all good, yeah. But then there's this other side of them where they take the activism and try to promote these left-wing ideas, and that's not kosher. So kudos to Kash Patel for sticking up for the American people.
Exactly, Señorita Annette.
Okay, well, I love Kash, but is he doing this because he's failing the American people on this Tyler Robinson investigation? Like, is he trying to give Turning Point, you know what I mean, and say, he's sort of sticking up for them because the ADL? Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I do, and I disagree because this has been an ongoing problem with the Southern Poverty Law Center, ADL, the FBI. So they've got to do that. So and you got to remember, Annette, both of you guys are elected officials. When you guys have a session, you do more than one thing at a time. So no, but keep going after you take your swig of juice there.
Sorry, I'm thirsty. No, I was just. Just wondering. Of course, I think the ADL is not all bad. We did some people wanted ADL signs at the school. You know what I'm saying? We did a lot of research. It's not all bad. Not every organization is either all bad or all good, but I think he's making a good decision here. And I agree with G, but I just thought maybe he could do more than one thing. And it just seemed to me he was maybe making a point here for reasons, to make some people happy that are frustrated with him about the case.
Right. No.
I will say what the frustration goes to some of the conspiracy theories that are coming out, right? And that
hold on, G. Before you respond, let me put this out there for you so you can respond on this too. So the ADL accused Kirk of promoting Christian nationalism and making problematic comments.
Wait, one second. But what is Christian nationalism? Someone needs to tell me what that even is. Define that.
In their eyes, it's when you talk about Christianity, literally. What he was talking about is, American values, that we are a nation founded by Christianity. I'm not into shoving my religious beliefs but I do believe we've lost some of our godliness. And part of Charlie Kirk, which he did not hide or try to subliminally do, he goes, I'm a man of God. God, Jesus saved me. And these are the values I love to talk about as well. And his audiences were growing. So they call that nationalism when he's just preaching the good word. But where's the ADL with Dearborn, Michigan, and what they're doing? You need to leave this. We don't like you here. The mayor telling a Christian constituent, you're not welcome here. Where's the ADL putting them on the hate list? Nowhere to be found. It's a hypocritical system built to destroy conservatives. All right. Sorry, G, go ahead.
No, I don't remember my point. But to what you just said, remember last year, it was about a year ago, Kamala was doing a rally, Kamala Harris, and someone yelled, Jesus is Lord. And you have no idea whether that person's Democrat, Republican, whatever. But she laughs and she goes, you're at the wrong rally. You want to go to the one down the street. It's
exactly.
You don't want Christians at your rally? Like, maybe that was a supporter of yours. It was so bizarre.
Exactly. All right, Annette, any final comments on this? I thought it was a righteous move, a move that should have been done a long time ago, because they were investigating Charlie Kirk's group because their excuse was, well, look, a partner company we work with says they're a hate group. This group was giving our DOJ the permission. So when they went to court, where we had legitimate reasons to go in because of this report by this group we partner with. See, that's what corrupt governments do. They wash their hands. So it wasn't us. This is a report from a legitimate organization. Final thoughts there, señorita.
I mean, I'm more like stuck on the Christian nationalist, title now that they're using to describe just like a true Christian belief and value system. You know what I mean? So they put the nationalist attached to it to make it seem like it's some sort of angry hate group or something. I mean, it's a really strange way that they're, the image that they're giving by that phrase, I guess.
You're absolutely correct. It's they've made Christianity right now is outside of Hindu, Buddhism, and a few others like that but out of the main religions, it's probably the most non-violent. We had our day of violence, but we evolved. We're no longer involved outside of the Pope, who I loathe, which we won't get into tonight.
Wait, you don't like Pope Leo?
I never did. We had a long conversation on Pope Leo. Check it out, people. It's in the previous podcast. I give you my reasons of why Pope Leo's not a good guy.
I can't believe you didn't have me on for that. Okay, William.
I did. We had a whole episode on it. Where the heck you been at?
Okay. But I mean, you haven't. He's not had a lot of time yet for you to really.
He'll never have enough time. His past will never allow that. That's like that to me. Pope Leo is like saying, Chuck Manson. He's not such a bad dude, William. That's how I view the Pope.
William, the whole litany of Christian saints is about people who change because of God. That's what it's all about. So if he's really truly
when do people change after a hardship has befallen them?
Yeah, that's the only thing that's a catalyst for change in your opinion.
No, that's how most people. I said, how do most people change?
When there's been a hardship befallen them. Yeah.
When you've been covered up and moved around to protect you, you have no reason to change because the system's protecting you. That's also true.
I don't disagree with that.
The audience doesn't know what we're talking about, so let's move on. So any final comments, either one of you on
Well,
ADL?
I do have a question for Annette, because this goes back. I remember what I was saying now. So you were talking about Kash Patel not producing or dropping the ball on Charlie Kirk, right?
Yes.
Are you referring to the conspiracy theories that there are possibly other shooters? Because I see a lot of chatter around that going on out there.
I'm just referring to, there's a lot of questions that are lingering out there that they're not really talking about to give us clarification. As a matter of fact, I tried to look it up just yesterday to see if the Tyler Robinson had actually confessed. I mean, early on they said he had confessed. He has not confessed. And
right.
I looked
but that doesn't mean.
So that doesn't mean anything. It means there's some things that why isn't he well, then they said he did. Did he?
What's your lawyer up?
He didn't confess directly to the police, but his own dad turned him in.
Yeah,
right?
and not only
because
that,
he confessed to his dad. And I would never turn in my son, even if he confessed. So, I mean, kudos to that guy. But I don't believe he necessarily was the only one he was the only shooter. I mean, I looked at all the evidence that is available, but as far as him being the only one knowing, I believe at least 10 to 15 to 20 people knew. And I'm
Gotcha.
talking about his little group online that he would chat with saying,
Mhm.
hey, I'm going to go do this. And they knew, and they started tweeting, hey, watch the news tomorrow. And it's like, wait, you're an accessory because you knew something was going to happen, and you're bragging about knowing, having foreknowledge, and not notifying the police. So, I believe Cash is looking into that as well. But yeah.
They've already disproven some of the video too. This exploding by some different angles as well. So we don't know. And Israel's not guilty of everything, as we're going to talk about here in a second. But let's move on. And to refresh the audience, look, severe ties with a group like the ADL. They are what I call a hard left organization, and they've been known for falsely labeling conservatives, as we see with Charlie Kirk and TPUSA. They only believe in biased branding, pushing what progressives want. So this also shields us from government surveillance funneled through a partisan group disguised as nonpartisan. Not just the ADL, the Southern Poverty Law Center as well. So moves like this may help curb federal overreach, but the deeper issue remains, people, a government that targets conservative voices while letting groups like Antifa and BLM operate unchecked. The Constitution says we're all equal, but this government doesn't act like it, especially towards those who think for themselves, those who believe in freedom, and those who reject a state that plays God. Because I know who my God is, the big man upstairs. Not Biden, not Obama, not Congress. All right, let's move on. Oracle's Larry Ellison proposes AI surveillance and centralized government data. So, guys, I just want a couple of takes on this one, but I want to show you guys the video here. Let me get that up here for you, for the audience. This is Larry Ellison, and I edited it up here just because it was long, so I wanted to cut his points, but I haven't altered it in terms of what he's saying.
Your body cams will be transmitting that. The police will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording, watching and recording everything that's going on. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on.
When you come to government and what government's doing, there are artificial intelligence tools, and some of them I know that Oracle have developed around financial management for government, but also...
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I pulled up the wrong one. Let me get the correct one up. But G, your quick thoughts on us moving towards a digital society.
I'm a tech guy, right? So I think we push forward with progress. I was happy when I could put my driver's license on my iPhone, so it was one less card I could carry around. So there's different aspects to that. But then when you talk about centralizing all these feeds out there and information sources into one, so some guy can do a query real quick, that does scare me because things can be fabricated, and it's just like Minority Report, right? If you ever watch that movie where Tom Cruise,
It's like Gattaca.
Yeah, Gattaca.
Yeah, and they in terms of Minority Report, they arrest you because they know you're going to do something. And they have all these information sources, but some of it's from the future. So they arrest you in advance. So I'm not sure that that's a good idea, but I'm not sure how that we can stop it. But here's the other thing. So when DNA became a thing, right, and you can prove someone was at the scene of a crime through DNA, what was about 1995, then women who were normally just assaulted and left, now they're like murdered and burned, right? Because you're trying to get rid of the evidence, right? That's what some of these criminals are doing. And so I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sure there's less assaults, but I think the fewer assaults that there are get more deadly because of that aspect, because it's easier to find out who you are. That's the problem.
Correct. Okay, Annette, I got it. Let's listen to it before your comment.
Mm-hmm.
Be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on.
When you come...
And the first thing a country needs to do
is to unify all of their data so it can be consumed and used by the AI model. You have to take all of your healthcare data, your diagnostic data, your electronic health records, your genomic data. We have to take all of this data we have in our country and move it into a single, if you will, unified data platform. We need to unify all of the national data, put it into a database where it's easily consumable by the AI model, and then ask whatever question you like.
So, Annette, the point here is consolidation for the good of the people. Hey, we can just have one way to pay people. We can protect our security, from being stolen with biometric data that can identify us. But it's also bad. It's Big Brother watching. And in China, they use this to monitor how much you're online, what you're watching online, all kinds of stuff. So what are your thoughts? Do you take the good with the bad here?
No. I mean, that sounds like hell to me. That sounds absolutely horrifying. It feels like I'm watching a science fiction movie. Like, who is that guy? I'm sorry, I didn't even heard of that guy till right this minute. I mean,
That's Larry Ellison. He is the founder of Oracle, one of the richest men in the world. He's going to own TikTok. He owns a bunch of other social media platforms.
No, but does he think that that's something that he wants to live by too? Would he have to be?
Now, Annette, you hit it on the nail.
Oh, that's why I like the show, I guess.
They're above the system. They don't have to live by those rules. That's the age-old storyline in every great dystopian movie.
Well, that's why it sounds so horrifyingly scary to me. Because exactly. I feel like what would happen is someone could take that data, and then they can make, like, sort of what G was saying, like projections, but they might even make a projection on, like, I'm not as healthy as someone else. I'm not worth saving over somebody else because I have this sort of genome. Do you know what I'm saying?
Obama said that early on in his campaign. Well, what
did?
happens if my mother, she's suffering from this debilitating disease? And when he wanted to do the Affordable Care Act, Obama said, well, tough decisions got to be made. That's pretty much in essence what he said. Made big news, but the media, as they always do, whitewashed it. And if you brought it up, racist. That's how they downed that, but it's out there. Real quick to the audience. The reason we're showing this is the UK is trying to implement digital ID. And overnight, they had like over 1.2 million signatures stating, go to hell. We don't want this. But Larry Ellison is funding Tony Blair's Institute a few years ago of 130 million plus 218 million pledge to push the UK digital ID. I don't trust Larry Ellison. I don't trust any person who is above the law. And those are all those elite, those billionaires or rich people, the politicians, because it's do as I say, not as I, whatever the saying, not as
and
I.
so
I hate to break it to you, my friend.
He just buying Tony Blair out?
Well, no, he's pushing what Tony. He's pretty much when they talk about the shadow government or the shadow globalists.
Yeah.
That's an example of how it works. He's pumping the money, pushing the agenda, and the face of it right now is Tony Blair. All right, let's keep moving, people. Let us talk Charlie Kirk's strategic letter to Benjamin Netanyahu, countering anti-Israel sentiment in America. And Annette's Charlie Kirk theory. No, I'm kidding. So, conservative activist Charlie Kirk wrote a letter to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and his goal was to propose ways to combat growing anti-Israel and anti-Semitic trends on U.S. social media, especially among Generation Z. And Charlie Kirk, to remind people, is the founder of Turning Point USA. It was a letter sent May 2nd. It was expressing deep concern over the eroding American support for Israel. Kirk warned that Israel was losing the information war and that Israel needed to fill voids on platforms like X, urging a communications intervention, building a rapid response team, cultivating pro-Israel experts for real-time fact-checking. He suggested creating an Israeli truth network, promoting social media posts about everyday life in Israel through diverse voices, as well as sending released Gaza hostages on U.S. speaking tours. What Charlie Kirk was saying is, this is what we need to do to help you guys start winning the propaganda war. And what Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson have done is turn this into Israel wants to kill Charlie Kirk. That's what they're implying. Now, this makes Candace look much worse than Tucker, but this also hits Tucker with his, I don't care what anybody says, his TPUSA event. He was describing the Jews killing Jesus and aligning that with the Jews having killed Israel. I watched Patrick Bet David a lot, love that show, but those guys were totally wrong because they like Tucker. Well, that's not what I saw. That's what Tucker was saying. Candace was actually saying there was stuff in this letter that was detrimental to Israel. Netanyahu released the whole letter, and that's pretty much what it said. And he was on Megyn Kelly, and he pretty much said the same thing. Look, we're losing the narrative war. I'm tired of being called anti-Semitic by haters. By those stating I don't support Israel enough just because I sit there and make a comment that's more neutral or not positive. So he was just being real and saying I'm a strong supporter of Israel. And that's what the truth is. But I guess Tucker and Candace want clicks. Annette, then we'll go to G.
Okay, well, this is something I actually know a lot about because I watched all of those episodes. I watched Candace, I watched Tucker, I watched, Megyn talking to Charlie. And basically, though, Charlie was saying that anytime he went off the narrative of not being 100% pro-Israel in every way, he felt like they would label him as an anti-Semite. He did say that. Did you watch that? So,
no, he did say that, but that has nothing to do with, Israel wants to kill him because a lot of the supporters of Israel don't view him, because that's what that has morphed into. He did say that.
Yes.
But he also said, I'm a strong supporter of Israel. We just got to figure out a way to win this propaganda war.
Well, I'm not connecting those dots to having that be that they killed Charlie Kirk, because honestly, I don't see how that benefits them. But did you see just recently, I think it was yesterday on Megyn Kelly, there was a conversation with the guy sort of asking her if she was going along with Tucker and Candace's narrative on this, and he was urging her not to. And she's like, basically, I'm an independent thinker,
right?
And you don't need to tell me that what I'm going to say. And the further he went, the more she was like, you're making your own case why people get this way about Israel. Because he was basically saying, we want to know you're all in. I just know what I think. I think it's just paranoia. That's what I really think it is. I really think that what happens is they are really afraid of losing track of the narrative. They've lost track of the narrative, like on college campuses or whatever, and they want their people to be fully into their understanding where Israel's coming from, and they need the support by some of these really strong right-wing conservative people. I want to say right-wing, they're just conservative. And Tucker is getting, I just watched a whole hour and a half segment last night when I couldn't sleep with Tucker Carlson and Jeffrey Sachs.
I like Jeffrey Sachs.
Okay, well, and do you think he's anti-Semite?
No, I never said he was.
Well, no, what I'm saying to you is he basically goes hour by hour. It's like an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes.
Oh, Annette, I've heard. I used to subscribe to Tucker Carlson to support him, and I stopped because I'm like, dude, you've gone off the reservation.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that?
Because Israel is responsible for everything. Here's my take. I have sat there and said over and over, look, when anybody tells me they're the chosen one, I got problems with that because you're not. I've tweeted out, bro, I support Israel, but posts like this is why you guys are losing the propaganda war. Because a lot of Jews, and this, I remember about 30 years ago reading a story in Germany, how a Jewish woman got stopped and played the Jewish card on the German cop to get off. I think the Jewish people at times, a lot now, when you sit there and say something they don't view as pro-Israel, well, you're anti-Semite. It's an easy quote to go to, but it has nothing to do with Charlie Kirk having Israel. That's the whole point of this segment. Candace was stating that, hey, there's something that led her that they were trying to kill him. She's pretty much gone on the reservation, maybe not has said it directly, but that's pretty much
she's implying it.
Yes, are saying and implying. G, your take.
Yeah, so people are doing this for views. I watched a guy do a YouTube response or reaction to another guy who's like a gun YouTuber guy, and that second guy was basically saying that Tyler Robinson was not the shooter, and here's why: there was a shooter behind Charlie Kirk, and then there was a guy behind Charlie Kirk that was doing the the baseball
The hand signals. Yes, I saw
Yeah.
that. Gee.
Right. Oh, no
not
one
gonna like
mentioned
G's
that
answer.
that was his pastor. That was Charlie
Yeah.
Kirk's pastor. Like, wait, his
The
own
one that's
pastor
been
was gonna,
making the rounds,
the
talking
one
to
who
people.
spoke at his funeral.
Yeah.
Like, what? Okay, so the second gun guy. I'm watching the reaction to this guy, and this guy got, I think, 100,000 views. And the first guy, the reaction guy, said he just made, I think it was on the order of $3,000, I think it was. And he goes, if he racks up the views, he'll get way more for sitting there in front of the camera for 20 minutes talking about how someone else shot Charlie Kirk, right? And it wasn't really Tyler Robinson. He just made $3,000. And I think that's why you get these people who, and you know, Candace Owens is acting like a grifter. She wants the views, she wants the money. But no, Charlie Kirk was not an anti-Semite. He was telling Netanyahu, do the Trump playbook. Trump was the first social media president, and Obama was the first internet president. I believe he used the internet effectively, but Trump used social media effectively. And so he's telling Netanyahu, do that. You're losing the narrative, and people are turning against you. The world's turning against you. So I don't see anything anti-Semitic about Charlie Kirk.
I don't
Exactly.
either. But really quickly, William, I have to get you clear on something. The Israelites are God's chosen people, and we are grafted in, but they are His chosen people. That's in the Bible.
Well, like I said, to me they're not, and that's that's how I view it. It's
it doesn't mean that God loves. I mean, I'm just saying it's like that special relationship He has with them. But
me with my good friend Candace.
Oh, that's a cute picture.
No, I don't know Candace. That was just one of those things where the GOP paid her like $10,000, I heard, and she has to stand there. You go up, shake your hand, take the picture, and that's that. Yeah.
Oh, well, nice picture.
Yeah. All right. No, I get what you're saying. I just disagree. It's just simple. I don't view I grew up in a fundamentalist household, and I have questions on all religions, the historical, because I'm a historian buff. I've studied the Sumerian for 20, 30 years, not intently, but I've read a lot of books on them. The Mahabharata, it's the Indian story there. And I'm like, wow, those things talk about the flood. The flood predates the Bible's version of it, So I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying I do a lot of research, and I formulated my own belief, but I do believe in the big guy. I do. There's nobody will doubt that. I do believe in Jesus, but I don't necessarily fall in line with every single thing that I've read on that. Anyway, let's keep going here. And the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, my man Pete, announced new military fitness mandates while criticizing fat troops, specifically the fat generals. Real quick, Annette, your thought on this?
I thought it was phenomenal. I thought it was great. I mean, I thought it was a little bit interesting that he flew them all in for it. I don't know what you guys think about that he brought everybody all in. I'm like, was that a bit of an extreme thing to do? But
yes, I thought so for that. For that it was, I thought. But then again, he wanted to make a point.
He was making a point. Exactly. And that's what I was going to say. And I thought it was message received. You got the memo. So
exactly.
It's great.
G.
Do glazed donuts come in MREs? Just
No,
a question.
No, but MREs have come a long way. They're pretty good. I've eaten plenty in the sand. Yeah.
I mean, once the military gets the reputation of, hey, go to a donut shop and you'll see a bunch of Marines standing there, we're doomed as a country. So thank you, Pete Hegseth, for making sure our Marines can run a mile in under 20 minutes.
Exactly. So what he did is he shamed the fat troops.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, he's tired of seeing it. But he's going to revert to the highest male standards only. And that means gender neutral. You want to be a special forces? You want to be a ranger? And that chick that they say is a ranger is not a ranger. We're not going to lower the standards. And that's what all these groups want him to do. And this has been going on since the late 80s and early 90s is when all these changes began, not just the military, but also with law enforcement. And he's just saying, here's our standards. You're going to have to live by. But so I was the PRT coordinator at a command. And I was in shape. I mean, you could bounce a freaking quarter off my abs. You could see on my six pack. I think I got like one picture of that era, and my friends would see. They're like, "Damn," but I was fit. So I was charged as the PRT coordinator, and those guys hated it. I can't even remember. It was 35 years ago when you do the 6 inches off the ground and you do the little flutter kicks. So they hated the workout I was putting them through. So on like the third day, it wasn't like every day. It was like 2 or 3 times a week. So on the third day, I think it was early the following week, I went in to go lead, and one of the LPOs came, dude, you've been fired. They found somebody else to replace you. Why? Because I told my command, my department head, he said, what about this guy? This guy. They were all fat ass NCOs, non-commissioned officers. That's E7 to E9 enlisted, and all the officers are like department heads. I wasn't going to let them off the hook. And they knew come to PRT, I'm going to fail you if you don't pass. So they fired me. It happens all the time. So I applaud that. The military has one job: kill people. Win a war, kill people. It is not a social experiment. So my take is simple. Pete Hegseth's push to reform military fitness standards brings us back to what the military was built for: merit-based readiness, people, and combat effectiveness, not woke distractions. We've had 2 generations of social engineering. And Hegseth, he's restoring discipline, and he's preparing the troops for real-world threats. Your host was fired as a commanding fitness trainer, as I said, for holding everybody, NCOs, enlisted officers, to the same standard. And they didn't like that. As I said, I showed up and I was told, your services are no longer needed. So this reform exposes the hypocrisy of those hiding behind rank or gender. And you're not going to like hearing this, ladies, but I went to my superior and reported this woman. What's the problem? I said, look, I grew up with 3 sisters. You do not have a period for 3 straight weeks. That was her excuse to get out of work. They moved her out of my division. I was temporary there. I was in charge of the division, and they moved her out because they knew I wasn't going to accept that. I was going to write her up. So a fighting force must be fit and not coddled. Real quick before we move on, and as a woman, I have heard that, and other men can tell you about the women in that situation. What are your thoughts when you hear somebody bring that up? Do you get offended? You're like, oh, it has happened. I mean, what are your thoughts as a woman?
No, it's a great relief to me. I mean, I think that just makes perfect sense. It'd be like me trying to be a firefighter and trying to save people and carry them. I mean, it's just got to be realistic in terms of what can be done in the role. And right. And there should never be some sort of substandard. So the DEI sort of, whoever that person might be, can get in those situations. You have to be, like you said, you've got to be lethal, right? You've got to be able to.
Ooh, I like that, lethal.
I mean, isn't that what you're saying? So
yes.
I am not offended by that at all, because I think that there could be in the world some extremely strong women who are super talented, talented, lethal, whatever, more than a man. I don't think any woman has ever been a Navy SEAL.
No, none has. At the end of the day, I've heard stories like that from many people. I do believe there should be a separation of men and women. The big running joke is when these combined Navy ships, usually supply ships or hospital ships, leave port, how many of the women come back pregnant? Because they do, more than you would think. So it's a big issue to resolve, and I don't know how to resolve it. So I'm not saying women are out. I'm just saying they need to figure something out. All right, we got 2 more topics. I want to be real quick about it. I want your quick thoughts on this topic here. I'm going to show one part of the video to get a take from each of you. Then I'm going to show the second part. This is Joy Reid on her mother saying this is pretty much a racist country.
And as somebody who's, my parents, my father was from the Congo and my mother was from Guyana. And so they were the immigrants who came here on purpose, and they got the rude awakening. My mother got the rude awakening, like, oh, it's racist here. that's weird. For some reason, she was.
Nobody told me. Why go to Brazil?
Yeah, she's like, tell me this is the land of opportunity, but not for me. It's weird.
All right, real quick. G, she earned $3 million a year when she was at MSNBC. The average Guyanan earns, I don't know if that's how you say it. I apologize if you're from Guyana, so I don't know how they call it. You guys are Guyanans, but they earn $5,200 annually a year. Yeah, she's saying her mother told her this is a racist country. But I will say this too: for immigrant parents who don't speak English or struggle with English, aren't very educated, They will toil. My mom toiled in the factory, so we wouldn't have to. You kind of come in, you live a better life than you would in your home country, and some have aspired to become ultra millionaires as well. But a lot end up with the factory, the blue collar work. But it's much better than their home country. She earned $3 million. Gee, your thoughts on that?
I mean, she's talking to a bunch of people who are there going, tell me anything and I'll believe it. Because if you listen to that story with any kind of a critical mind, you go, wait, your parents came here and immediately were shocked at how bad it is? And then they stayed? Like, they're not from here. It's bad, and they stay. And then she's born, and she stays. And then she gets
Right.
this $3 million a year job, and then she's fired because of the low ratings. And what does she do? Her playbook. Oh, MSNBC, they're a bunch of racists, so they got rid of me because of my race. I mean, it's just grifting to the nth degree. It's crazy. Her parents must love it here because they stayed and they made a ton of money, right? Because, or at least I should say, they made more money than from where they came. Like you said, $5,000 a year in Guyana. I mean,
Right.
that, you come here and the average person makes, or average person I think is 50,000 a year. So in today's dollars, so yeah, she's just dishonest, intellectually dishonest, because her family
Correct.
stayed because
Correct,
it's
correct.
better here.
Exactly.
And I will
Annette.
say, this country is not a racist country.
Exactly. So, Annette, your quick thoughts before I share the second part here.
Okay, I just think that it's one person's experience. I mean, maybe she legitimately felt that way, but it'd be like saying,
No, but she's agreeing with it. Joy Reid is agreeing with it, despite earning $3 million a year.
So you're saying that she's being hypocritical?
Oh God, yes.
Well, I agree she's being hypocritical, but what I'm saying about her mom is maybe that was the lens from which she saw America, and that was her personal experience. It'd be like a child being bullied in school and saying that school only has bullies. You know what I'm saying?
Well, but her mom made a whole generalization. My mom was treated that way too, with her broken English, her Korean looks.
Mhm.
She was treated like that, but she persevered. She was a very godly woman, and she goes, "No, there's good people. This is the greatest country." Why? Because she took her family in Panama out of poverty with the money, and now they're middle class. So my issue is she's generalizing all of America. All Americans.
I think so too.
Joy Reid. All right, let's keep going here.
I think she's being resentful, but how far is that going to take you?
I mean,
taking her to
going back really quick to the point, it's not a racist country, but there are racist people here. And
yes,
everywhere.
Yeah.
All right, here's the second part.
That's a good point, G. That's a good distinction.
Second part. Oops, let me turn it on.
Go back before the 20th century, there were no income taxes, there were no regulations on business. You could earn as much money as you want, leave 100% of it to your children with no taxes. Right. That's the world they want back. And to get it back, they need society to change. They need people to be less modern. They need people to want fewer things.
She's saying that's what MAGA wants. We want less taxes. We want to be able to give what we've earned to our kids. So she's saying we want higher taxes. We want to impose the government will on everybody, et cetera, et cetera. Again, hypocrisy. Yes, that is what I want. That doesn't make me racist. Yes. That's what the average American wants. That's what every libertarian wants. That's what every conservative wants. That's what blue-collar Democrats used to want. That's what rich elitist Democrats like Joy wants. She was busted for not paying taxes at one point. Quick thoughts, and let's move on. Annette.
That's 100% what I want. Totally agree with everything she said.
G.
I remember in the 90s, Rush Limbaugh saying, listen to what liberals say, a tax cut, what the cost to the government is to let people keep more of their own money. They think they own your money. And when they control you economically, they control you. It doesn't matter what freedoms you have to in the bedroom or whatnot. They control you economically. They control you, period.
Exactly. And going back real quick to the digital ID in Vietnam, they locked out like 80,000 bank accounts because they didn't get the biometric stuff done. And that's how they control you. That's how they will control you. All right, let's close this out. So Joy Reid's rise from immigrant roots to a $3 million a year role at MSNBC proves the opportunity America offers. And as G says, we're not a racist country. That success directly contradicts her narrative of limited access and systemic oppression. And the irony, she vilifies the very country that elevated her, while conservatives are smeared for defending those values that made her rich. Let's not forget her past homophobic blog posts. The MSNBC investigation never resolved. She wasn't hacked, as she claimed, and everyone knows it. What Joy Reid does is she projects her own bigotry onto us conservatives. That's the real irony. And there you have it, people. We're going to forego the last segment. We're at a minute 10 here. G, any final comments here in terms of the 100th episode in today's show? Or you have the floor, my friend. What's on your mind?
No, I mean, it's been a great 100 episodes. I think I've been here for at least 70 of them. So, no, it's been a great ride. I can't wait to hit 150, 200 episodes. I mean, I think this is a fun ride, and it's great to just talk about what's on our mind and get fired up about these things.
I think we're going to have more shows like this I think we'll have special editions that are taped and then put in the library of some of these deep takes into these topics. I kind of like this format. Señorita Annette, what's the good news with you? What are your thoughts here? 100th episode.
I thank you for each and every time you've had me on. Even if I, fumbled a bit, you always gave me a chance to express my feelings. I had to get you back in the Pope's good graces there, William. That's going to be my mission to get you to love Pope Leo. No, thank you. I just love that we have this outlet, a place to express our thoughts and feelings.
I got to be honest. The last Pope I loved was Pope John Paul II.
John Paul II.
Him and Reagan were like a powerful 1-2 punch duo, bringing Christianity back to Poland and other parts of the world. And it was just about religion and Christianity and the values it brings. It wasn't about getting political like many people have done since then. And that's our show, people. Before we go, make sure you hit like, or you hit and you like us, or give us a thumbs up, whatever. There you go, whatever it is on the platform you're watching. Then bookmark grumbliesmedia.com and follow us on YouTube, Rumble, Apple, Spotify, Pandora with the profile Grumblies Media. And a real quick side note, Apple used to dominate. Now it only has 12% of the actual viewing audience. YouTube is really where it's at right now. Yep. That said, check out our store at grumbliesmedia.com for our newest swag. And as always, let us know your thoughts in the comment. Do you agree with Miss Annette? Israel, no, I'm kidding. Just let us know your thoughts and comments. I want to thank my co-host, G. Manghani, and our special guest, the beautiful and intellectually gifted Miss Annette Ross. And by that, I mean she brings the humanity back into what can become a type episode. Thank you for joining us. Until next week, I'm William Del Pilar. This has been Fired Up. Stay safe.